Okay, Kamala, we've been here for 3 days, okay? It's debate night. Joe's out. You're in. You got this, okay? Number one, the dues. You're the borders are, okay? If Donald Trump brings up the fact that the border is wide open, you tell him you thought he was talking about Borders Bookstore, which you helped shout down years ago, okay?
Yes, who the borders are, baby.
Yes, you are. Okay, number two, copy Trump's policies, okay? All of them.
Like tax on tips. That was good.
You came up with that, okay? And if he says that you're lying, play the race card.
You're gonna do that all night long.
Yeah, how dare he steal from a strong black woman?
And I want you to put on a thick southern accent.
Yeah, even though your family's from India and Jamaica, nobody cares, okay? Like he said, bring it on heavy and thick. I want you to make Martin Luther King sound like a honky, okay?
Go like, hallelujah!
Yeah, you better thank you when you're working. You better thank, I feel the Lord, the spirits inside me, Lord. Hey, man, I'm beating Trump. I'm beating Trump.
You start losing the debate and you're going to...
Yes! Remember, our campaign is about joy. Nothing says joy more than your amazing laugh, comma. Okay, moving on. The don'ts, okay? Don't admit you're the vice president.
Everything that's happened in the past 4 years is not your fault.
No, it's all Joe Biden. Blame Joe.
Biden.
He's old, he's sleepy, he's creepy. Blame him, okay? Don't talk about weed at all. The last thing we need is another Tulsi Gabbard moment. She smoked your ass, no pun intended, all right? Okay, last one. Don't talk to the media, okay? As soon as the debate's over, headphones on, mouth closed, and exit the building, okay? And if a reporter tries to ask you a question, just pretend you're listening to Beyonce and exit the building, okay?
Yes, I know she didn't show up for you at the DNC, but it doesn't
matter. Yeah.
Oh, please stop. Oh, I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, I can't do this.
Please stop.
I can't
What is up, everybody? I love
man.
that. I love that video. That's great.
Right?
And no, that is fantastic.
Beautiful.
So, Dalton, I was pre-gaming.
You were.
I was. And a lot of these people, if you are here from the pre-game show, let us know. And by let us know, I mean, like, give us some sort of emoji or thumbs up or something.
Yeah. Well, like the video.
Yeah.
There we go.
You're having Brandon Herrera flashbacks? Good. Those are good flashbacks to have. Okay. Just remember, call him daddy. Anyway. So, by the way, now the question then becomes, because I have pregame, do we start at like a higher level of insanity than usual? Do you think?
I don't agree with that. I'm down for that. You want to do, what do you want to do? 25?
You know what? I really think it's really up to you on where you think
25.
I'm at. Okay, cool.
We started off with 100 last week, so
we did. Okay, so I think 25. I'm not drunk yet, so I think we're good.
Okay. Yeah.
Turret is saying 69. Deadman's saying 50.
I still need to make a 69.
LTAC 7. Yeah, we do need a 69. How can you not go for the memes?
I know. Sorry, guys.
Daddy Herrera. It's gonna be great.
What, you think I was gonna let the poors have one?
Yeah, exactly. See, actually, here's the thing. That means that Brandon also hates the poors.
That's fine.
Well, here's the thing. See, there's a difference. He hates the poors, but he wants there to be less of them. That's why he supports policy initiatives that would make it a lot easier to not be poor.
Yeah.
That's my big brain thought of the night. I won't be having many. Then again, I do think that you could be mentally inept tonight and still come out on top. So,
well, Kamala sure thinks so. So we'll see. We'll see if that's the case.
Now, to my knowledge, Tulsi's been helping Trump, right?
Yeah. With the debate.
For anybody that doesn't remember, Tulsi Gabbard is the one that caused Kamala to not get a single delegate.
Beautiful. She destroyed Kamala before even Iowa, which is a huge deal. Like, she dropped out before Iowa. I wish I had that video queued up, but we are about 6 minutes out from the debate.
Where are we watching it? Do you have it in private chat?
I don't have the link. I was hoping that you would stream it because my internet.
That's why. Yeah. So
I think it's just ABC News.
ABC News debate. I just want to make sure that I have it prepped. Watch Live, PBS NewsHour has it. Watch Live from Fox News, NBC News. Does the ABC website actually have it?
Hold on.
Live. Yeah, here we go. I got it.
it.
Yeah, they currently have Chris Christie. Why does Chris Christie still think he's relevant? He's currently talking, by the way. I haven't muted.
He wants to be Krispy Kreme so bad.
I think seriously, Chris Christie.
Your YouTube link if you don't have it already.
Did you send it on X?
No, I sent it in the private chat.
Oh, okay. Cool. That might make my life easier because I don't want to give their website any activity.
Yeah, fair. I mean,
okay, cool. There we go.
Really
I got it. Thank you. We
activity.
got it pulled up, everybody. And do you know what that means? It means pretty soon we're all gonna want to die.
And it's developing in real time.
So now I've been. You have 4 minutes, Dalton. I have been telling people about this week's culture show on Friday. Give them a little bit more background. Tell them the movie and all of that. I want to get them as hyped as we are.
So today it dropped. Today the movie is officially out. So for the last several years, my brother and his friend Matt Sempier have been making a independent horror film called Creeping Death. And like I said, it just dropped today. And they have a lot to kind of talk about. And so they've been on podcasts all week kind of promoting the film and everything. And we figured, why not have them on Friday the 13th? Figured that was appropriate. Yep. And so that is slated for this Friday. So we got a really cool show for you guys. Yep, my brother is a producer on the movie, so he's going to be joining us along with Matt Sempier, who is the writer and director of the movie. And
now, where can people watch this movie currently?
It's on Screenbox. So if you guys want to go to creepingdeathmovie.com, you guys can have all the links right there. You guys get a little bit of a synopsis of the movie and everything. I watched it last night with my brother when it dropped at midnight, and 4K, it looks awesome. It looks awesome like in 1080p, but 4K is like where it's at. They shot it in 6K, I believe, and then I'm going to save all the details and everything for Friday because they're going to dive in and they're going to geek out about it. It's going to be beautiful. If you guys want, I can play a little bit of the trailer right now. It's about 2 minutes, and that's about as much time that we have before the debate starts. You down with that, Tack, or are you frozen? I think I lost Tack. Or maybe he lost me.
Oh. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know what happened either.
But I have posted the website in chat, so if anybody wants to check that out, that's where you go. But I believe
I'll play like the first 30 seconds of the trailer real quick. Yeah,
we got 2 minutes. Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I can just play the whole entire trailer. Let me do that.
Play the trailer. Everybody, trailer.
What is up, Asheville? It is All Hallows Eve. Hey, hold up a sec. I know you want to spend Halloween with your friends and all, but I just don't want these late-night trick-or-treaters pestering your mom all night long.
Can we just leave the porch lights off?
Come on, you know they're still gonna ring the doorbell.
Receiving multiple reports about strange events transpiring this Hallows Eve.
Go.
Guys, what are we doing? I thought we were going to be partying all night.
Not without that bag.
You have no idea what kind of a mess you made tonight. Bring back the sack and maybe we can stop whatever's gonna happen.
Is that blood?
Ayoshi?
If you feel easily threatened, then they'll hunt all that hinder their chance of survival.
What are we gonna do?
Oh, and it's midnight, right? We can outlast it till then. We should be able to get through this.
The Ishi come for thee on the night of Hallows Eve.
So real quick, I know the debate's starting. So yeah, I think if you guys really like the way that Tack does his Cryptic Raiders series, and the lore that he actually puts behind it, I think you guys are really gonna like and enjoy the lore that's put into the film.
So Gaelic lore, which is fun as shit.
Yep, it's gonna be awesome. So that's what we have in store for you guys Friday. But right now, we've got the debate.
Right now we've got the debate. So let me prep that with a shared screen. And by shared screen, I mean we get to look at these two stern individuals.
Is an ABC News special, the most consequential moment of this campaign.
So, from what I understand, the mics will be muted when the other is talking, which I think Kamala did not want because she wanted.
No, she wanted. I'm talking.
I don't think she's gonna get that tonight. At least we'll see. She's probably gonna sneak it in a couple of times. And every time she does, you got to take a drink. So I feel so sorry for you guys.
All right. Now I'm going to just turn this down until they actually begin the debate.
I think they're doing that now.
World tonight.
Oh.
Vice President Kamala Harris and President
I didn't see
Donald Trump
anybody walking up there.
Taking the stage in this
They're
unprecedented.
moments away. Do we want to hear him?
Davis, tonight's meeting could be the
go for it. I mean, it's starting right now.
Their campaigns with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice
might go over the
President
rule.
Kamala Harris, this is her first debate since President Biden.
It's her second time speaking to press.
Against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this
You
race
wanna
has
call it
taken on
that.
Going for a Caribbean Scotch. I'm going for rye whiskey because I hate myself and my liver.
Have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing: 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups and clarifications or responses. Their microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall at the National Constitution Center. This is an intimate
Why do they
setting
keep doing
for
it with
two
no
candidates
audience?
who have never met.
President Trump won the coin toss. He chose to deliver the
I don't
final
know.
closing
It's kinda
statement of
dumb.
the evening. Vice President Harris selected the podium to the right.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice
Did you hear
President
that they
Kamala
made
Harris and
they made
President Donald
her
Trump.
podium smaller? Yeah.
Because she's like nearly like a foot smaller. Look at this. Did they shake? Oh, she's gonna try.
Oh, okay. Did they shake hands?
They did.
Welcome to you both.
Is that a
It's
drink?
wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking
Oh,
forward
fuck.
to
Okay, I just got to raise my glass.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say
turn
is
it up
their
a little?
number one issue, and that is
Yes,
the
I
economy
can.
and the cost of living in this country.
Is that
Vice
better?
President Harris, you and President
Oh,
Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time.
Jesse
so
says
that
she's
those
already
young
more drunk than
families
us.
can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
Incorrect.
Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation has, which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums.
Eating your dog.
Coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy.
Oh my God!
Since the Civil War.
Threat to democracy. Does that count?
Is clean up Donald Trump's mess.
Fuck.
What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute.
Joe Biden said.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over.
Do they have notes? They're allowed notes?
Where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs.
That's true.
Bounce back, and it bounced back, and it went to their benefit.
And it didn't bounce back to pre-pandemic levels yet.
So does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
It's good that he brought that up.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at
you didn't have policy till last night.
Breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy. And the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. what the Wharton School has said is
Why
Donald
hasn't
Trump's
it
plan
already?
would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would
Nobel
invite a
laureates.
recession. You just have to
The
look
people that gave
at where
Obama
we
a
are
peace
and where
prize
we
for
stand on the
bombing
issues. And I'd
civilians.
invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Bold. Let's see how it works out.
I gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales
that was like
tax.
a
Your proposal calls
two-burp,
for
Jeff.
tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000.
Yeah, they do it on fuel.
Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have and who's going to have higher prices is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
And you guys blocked us from calling it the China virus.
From Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window.
Oh, did she?
She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But
I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
Change it, and it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics. And he taught her
Marxist
well.
Comrade
But when you look
Kamala.
at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions
I
and
don't know
millions
this
of
is
people
for
that
her.
are pouring into our country
specifically
monthly,
says Comrade
where it's,
Kamala.
I believe 21 million people, not the 15 that people say.
I mean,
And
her
I think
dad
it's a
was
lot
a
higher
Marxist.
than the
Marxist
21. That's
professor.
bigger than New York
Yes.
State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later.
Speaks fluent
bad
Japanese.
immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby.
Real.
And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's
Video
not
of
okay
this.
with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened.
Even Ruth
Now,
Bader Ginsburg said that it was not cited
the vote
correctly.
was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Incorrect.
Vice President, I want to get your response to
that. Is not true in
Well,
New
as
York.
I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry pregnancy
Switching to
term,
beer, I've already
suffering from
taken
a
10
miscarriage,
shots.
being
Fuck, dude.
denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's
Thank you for
bleeding out
playing.
in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term.
Which he literally just said
They
there's
don't
exceptions.
want
but
that.
okay.
Yeah, he literally just
pledge
said
to you,
exceptions.
When
And she's
Congress
bringing up all
passes
the
a bill
exceptions, but okay.
to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly
Why
sign
didn't Joe
it
Biden do that?
into law.
Yeah, why?
But
Who's in
understand,
office right
if
now,
Donald
Dalton?
Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
He's being
Thank
very
you,
disciplined
Vice
by not
President
like,
Harris.
you know,
Well,
trying
there
to
she goes
interrupt her.
again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52
Mephisto.
years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody
It
thought
is the
was possible.
top-selling issue
The
for
states are now
donations.
voting. What she says
I
is
believe that.
an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get
I'm
student
regretting this
loans
game,
terminated,
Lombax.
and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to
He's
respond,
right.
but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy.
Saying, hey, thanks for wording it that way.
And asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America.
It
And
is
understand
happening
what has
in
been
New
happening
York,
under Donald Trump's
Minnesota,
abortion ban.
Massachusetts,
Couples who
Connecticut.
pray and dream of having a family
Yeah.
are being denied.
By the way, the
IVF
law
treatment.
says that
What is happening in our country?
if they deliver partial birth abortion, essentially that the baby was carried to X amount of term and it was born because that's how they have to abort it. They have to leave it on the table and make it comfortable and let it die.
To get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go
Saying,
and get the health care
that's
she
the law.
needs. Barely can afford to do it, and what you are putting
I believe is California too.
is unconscionable.
California too.
And the people of America
Yeah.
have not, the majority
But
of
calling
Americans
California a
believe
state
in
is
a
a
woman's
bit-
right to make decisions about her
Yeah,
own
it's a
body.
little bit weird.
And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that?
Oh, she's not muted. Odd.
Why don't you answer the question? Would you veto?
Oh my!
Answer the question. Would you veto?
You could do abortions.
Thought they were supposed to be muted.
The 8th month, the 9th month, and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue
I get to drink
Republicans,
more.
Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden.
I'm going to miss you on
with
Friday,
getting to the
man.
root causes of migration from
It's
Central
okay,
America.
man. I'll miss you too.
We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have
Because
done
it's an
anything
election
different for President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill which I supported.
They gave money to Ukraine. That's all it did.
1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking
Sarah
in
Fields,
guns, drugs, and human
excuse
beings.
me,
You know what
why
happened
isn't
to
Kamala's
that
mic
bill?
muted?
Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
You sure about
and
that?
Understand, this comes at a
about
time
that? You sure
where
about
the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses
Solution,
the
let them all
hand.
in.
But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run
Look
on a
who it
problem
is.
instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk
here?
about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised.
So,
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to
baby.
invite you
Hold
to
on.
attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really
What's up?
Oh, no. Oh, you paused it.
interesting thing to watch.
She literally just said
You
she's
will
going to
see
attend a
during the
Trump
course
rally.
of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom.
Bull crap.
And I will
This
tell you,
is
the one thing
straight
you will not hear
lies.
him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your
The
needs,
entire
your dreams,
time
and
he
your
talks
and your
about the
desires.
people.
And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who
I
actually
just got here and I feel
cares,
like I'm
and
not
I
drunk
pledge
enough.
to you that I will.
Vice President
I'm
Harris,
already
thank you.
through
President
one
Trump,
of the
I
bottles,
want to get your
Well, I would
response.
like to respond.
here we
Just
are.
ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be
Yes.
there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk about that. People don't
Oh, I
like my
hate her
rallies.
face.
They're the biggest rallies,
Yeah,
the
it's
most
not
incredible
good. It's
rallies
not a
in the
good look.
history of politics. That's because people want to take their country
wow,
back.
she's really bad
Our
at hiding my
country
face.
is being lost. We're a failing
Yeah.
nation. And it happened
Like,
3.5
it just
years ago.
It shows for insecurity
what's
about
going
this.
on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country,
Which
and
they
look
have.
at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating
Well done.
the pets.
Go
of
watch
the
my video
people
on this
that
right
live
after.
there. And this
Damn
is
good
what's
video.
happening in our country.
Thank
and
you.
it's a shame.
Mwah. I
as
love
far
you.
as
Her facial expressions
rallies are
acting like
concerned,
this
as
is not
far as
true, and
the
it is.
reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back.
Oh, wait,
they
what do
want
I have to
make
drink?
America great again. It's a very simple phrase.
Everything.
Make America great again.
Oh, Venezuela and
She's
Haitians.
destroying
Yeah.
this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, will end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets
No,
being
just
harmed,
all of
injured, or
the
abused
people
by
speaking at a
individuals
council
within the immigrant
and
community.
Well,
filming
people
it,
on
and a woman
television
getting
saying
arrested
this is the
for
people
it.
on television
You know,
saying my
3 hours
dog was
away, but
taken
still.
and
Bringing it up.
used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people are
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
We'll find out from the
Talk about
residents.
6
How
months
about
later.
You know, this is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney.
I'm already voting for him.
And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
Yeah, they're not being
President Trump
addressed
will give you a
by the
quick minute
people in
to
office
respond.
right now.
Thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13
they held
people
themselves accountable.
Beautiful were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper. He was no good. I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book. Because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far.
Any sitting
In fact,
president.
I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
Yes.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military. You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put
We
into
are the
our
world's
country.
Australia
And
now.
This will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it. because they're destroying the fabric of
fair,
our
he does
country
need
by
a
what they've done. There's never been anything
need to
done
speak
like
up
this
or
at
into
all.
your
They've
mic, bud.
destroyed the fabric of our country.
He needs
Millions of
to answer
people
the question
let in,
now.
and all over
Yeah,
the world,
I will agree with that.
crime is down all over the world except
Need to
here.
ask your question.
Crime
I
here
kinda
is
wanna
up
know what
and
the hell
through
she's
the
doing.
roof.
She's over there,
Despite
like,
their
lighting.
fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country.
Because
But
they
Vice
stopped
President-
reporting
FBI
from states.
They were defrauding statements.
Right.
They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud.
You're
Just
fudging
like
the
their
numbers.
number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich. Coming from someone who has been prosecuted.
Oh God!
Oh, here we go.
Oh, I already
National
have.
security crimes, economic crimes, election interference.
I haven't
has
stopped.
been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing.
And everything.
And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President
No,
Harris.
we're exhausted with paying
Every one of those
75% more for everything.
was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court.
Yes.
I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those
violating
cases,
their own law
and
to
then
prosecute him.
They say, "Oh,
it's a terrible thing.
He's a criminal." They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, "Oh, that's the toughest of them all." A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out.
In trial.
It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place.
Oh, wait, are we going to get January 2nd?
The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again.
Incorrect.
Understand, this is someone who has openly
Absolute lie.
said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States.
Once
That he
again,
would
an absolute
weaponize
lie.
The Department of Justice.
Actually, that was
against
your
his
side
political
through
enemies.
the Washington
Someone
Post,
who has
was it?
openly expressed disdain
I can't remember.
for
I
members
forget which
of our
which
military.
magazine is saying the
Understand
Constitution is
what it would
dangerous. It's
mean
time
if
we
Donald
suspend
Trump
it.
were back in the White House
York
with
Times, a couple
no
different of them.
guardrails. Because
Name it.
certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's
What-
up to the American people.
What would JD
to
Vance
stop
do?
New York Times, apologies.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake
Trump,
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Yeah,
Vice
it was
President Harris, in your last
openly
run for
admitted to
president,
be
you said you
fraud.
wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're
So
taking
mine
a
are in
harder
that
line. I know
corner.
you say
Try
that your
buying them
values
back.
have
I have a
not
lot of
changed.
land.
So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So My values have not changed, and I'm going to
Yes,
discuss
they have.
every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020.
That was a 4.
I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking.
Technically shouldn't be
My
the
position is that
presidential
we have
authority
got to
either.
invest
Congressional only.
in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil.
You mean
As
the
it
past
relates
4
to my
months where you
values, let me tell you,
reverted your
I grew up
policies because
a
gas
middle-class
prices
kid
were fucking
raised by a
triple what they were?
hardworking mother
Cool.
who
What's really
worked and
entertaining, she's
saved and
entirely
was able
talking
to buy our
around
first home when I
all
was
of the
a
same
teenager.
talking points that are
The values I
his
bring
talking
to the
points.
importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got
his fucking
handed
campaign.
$400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders.
Please
to
don't work
increase
with me.
3 million
Leave me the
homes,
fuck alone.
Increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance
That's
of
why
standing
falsely
up for those
imprisoned
who are
millions
most
of
vulnerable.
men in California.
My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done.
Because I
protecting
want to steal all the
seniors
money out of
now.
the accounts in Medicare.
My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people
You have no values
down
or principles.
and name calling. The true measure of the
They're all
leader
bought.
is
Not
the
even with money.
leader who
Usually just
actually
you on your
understands
knees.
the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend
And
to
that's
be
why
that
I've always
president.
been attacking this man.
Well, first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So
What
we
jobs
don't
have
to
she
talk
created?
about that. Fracking?
Well,
She's been
not
against
enough
it
to
for
meet
12 years.
pre-pandemic levels.
No.
And most
No,
are
she-
part-time.
She's been
like,
against that.
Like a
She
private.
gave all that stuff up.
Oh, never.
Very
None.
wrongly,
She made-
very
made
horribly.
jobs in
And
prisons.
everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all
Well, yeah,
laughing
yeah,
at
all
it.
the jobs
She
in
gave up
prison
at
for the
least
people she
12
kept
and
getting past their
probably
terms.
14 or 15
Yeah.
different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police.
She's
In
taken a lot of
Minnesota,
jobs
she
away
went
from
out.
those
Wait a
elite
minute, I'm
escorts,
talking
though.
now. If you don't mind, please.
Oh.
Does that sound familiar?
Oh.
She went out. She went out
I missed what she.
in Minnesota.
He just
and
did
wanted to let
a.
criminals that killed
I'm
people,
talking.
that burned down
Does that sound
Minneapolis.
familiar?
She went out and raised money to get him out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of.
First
Now she wants to
voluntary
do
drink.
transgender operations on illegal aliens
Yes.
that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before.
True.
They took, when they took
Absolutely
over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power.
Yeah,
which,
we
course,
just
all
got
know
our
is a
policies
cornerstone of
last night.
democracy and the role of a president.
I don't know why the
in a
poll
moment of
ended
crisis.
before, but now
Mr.
we're
President,
good.
on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them.
Honest votes,
The country
not
and the world
bias.
saw what
Vote.
played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
No.
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other
Said
side
we are
was
the party
killed.
of law
Ashley
and order.
Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer.
Yes.
That should have
Only
never,
person who died.
ever shot her.
Ashley Babbitt.
It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it. But
let me just
when are those,
I'm going to go grab more
when are those
vape
people
juice.
going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president.
Fair
you were
question.
watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi. But I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I mean, what
I
do
was
you
at
want
the
him to
Capitol.
say?
Literally answer the question.
I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our
I
nation's
feel like people need to go
capital.
back and actually
Hey,
watch.
Demi,
the,
do you regret
our nation's
your actions
capital. On
during
that
the
day,
Challenger mission?
140
The
law
shuttle
enforcement
exploded,
officers
killing
were
that
injured.
teacher?
And some
Absolutely
died.
not. I remember placing
And
that bomb. I
understand,
mean, what?
The former president has
You
been
were.
indicted and
That's the level of that question.
for exactly that reason. But this is
Especially
not
since
an
I would have been
isolated
what?
situation.
That was when did
Let's
that happen?
remember,
99?
You weren't born yet.
where there was,
thought it was
a
99.
mob of people carrying
No.
tiki torches,
Challenger?
spewing
Yeah, Challenger was 91.
anti-Semitic hate. And what did the
Oh.
president then at the time say?
Pretty sure that was in the 80s.
There were fine people on each side.
86.
Let's remember
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
when it came
I
to
remember
the Proud
coming
Boys,
from
a
before I was
militia,
born. So set that off.
the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was,
still talking about this.
I say we don't have to go
Oh,
back.
because they want to make it look like it was
Let's not
like.
go
wanna
back.
make
We're
January
not going
6th
back.
live
It's
on.
time to turn the page.
Yeah,
That's because they don't have
And if
any other
that was a
talking
bridge
points.
too far for you,
Bingo.
well, there is a place in our campaign.
We're watching
for you
gladiatorial
to
combat
stand
in real life.
for country.
No,
Entertain the matches with
for our
lies
democracy, to
and
stand
blood.
for
Gladiatorial
rule of
combat
law,
because I think it would be
and
hilarious.
to end the chaos and to end the
Just a large
approach
orange
that is
man running at
about
her with a
attacking
trident.
the foundations of our democracy because
Yeah.
you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that
Oh,
point.
why don't you tell that to
Donald
Hillary
Trump,
Clinton?
the candidate, has said in this election there will be a
Does
bloodbath.
that mean like the people
If
in
this
your
and the
side
outcome
are
of this election is not
entirely
to his
responsible
liking.
for, you know,
Let's turn the page on
anywhere
this.
from
Let's not
tens
go
to
back.
thousands
Let's
of
chart a
Americans
course
dying?
for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president
they have
of
the presidential
United States, you'll get
authority.
him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue.
Did you talk to real immigration? You talked to the strippers that they had on the DNC.
In these times that we're living in.
They did.
Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate,
that wasn't
you
false.
have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
But
You know
those-
that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders. And we have to have good elections.
We need
Our
what Poland
elections
did.
are bad.
Walls
and,
and
illegal
armed
immigrants
people
coming in,
that are
they're trying
allowed to
get them
use
vote.
lethal
They can't even
force.
speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge
Republican,
looked at it.
and so
Yeah,
They said we
no
didn't
judge
have
actually
standing.
looked at it.
That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline.
Yes.
We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost
can't
by
get
whisker,
hung
so
up
he
on
still
2020.
believes he did not lose the election. That was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of
President
days. This
Biden,
was a
he didn't
post
win
from
anything.
President Trump about this
I would
upcoming
require Biden to
election
remember
just
where he
weeks away.
is
He
and
said,
stop
when I
sucking
win,
children."
those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election
You shouldn't
officials,
drink out of a
he says
closed
will
bottle.
be prosecuted to the fullest extent of
Yeah.
the law,
People
which will
that
include
commit crimes should
long-term
be
prison
prosecuted.
sentences. One of your
Whoa.
campaign's top lawyers
Weird.
responded saying, we
It's
won't
almost
let
like
Donald
most of the
Trump
people
intimidate
in
us.
those
We
offices
won't
are
let him suppress
should
the
be
vote."
held accountable
Is that
for
what
the
you
crimes
believe
they've
he's trying to do
committed
here?
in the past
Yeah.
like 40 years alone.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a
I
president
want
of the
everybody to
United
also
States
understand that Kamala's
who
team is currently being
attempts, as he
sued
did
by
in the
media
past,
agencies
to
for
upend the will
defamation
of the
and
voters
lies
in a free and fair election.
about this.
And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States.
Have you gone to the
And
border?
World leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say
Because she
you're
had
a
a
disgrace.
very important job.
And when
watching
you
back from
then
the
talk
pets.
in this way in a
Yeah.
presidential
Well,
debate and
Zelensky's
deny
short. She probably didn't have to go
what
too far
over and
down.
over again are court cases you have lost
Tech, your mic is
because
a
you
little
did
muffled.
in fact lose that
My
election.
mic is a little muffled.
It leads one to believe that perhaps
Weird.
we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to
Aren't
respond.
you,
Let me just
aren't
say
you
about
currently
world
working
leaders.
under somebody
Viktor
that
Orban,
actively
one of the most
doesn't know where they
respected
are?
men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him.
Weird.
Look at what's going on with North
Yeah,
Korea,
we
by the
don't
way.
know if
He
he's-
said
there
Russia
was a
was
video
afraid of
yesterday
him.
saying that
I
he would,
ended the Nord
he would
Stream
do
2
9/11,
pipeline, and
whatever
Biden
that
put
means.
it back on day one, but he ended the XL
Maybe that was
pipeline.
the video from today.
The XL pipeline in our country.
So just
He
saying
ended
he's going to
that.
bomb the
He
same
let
building,
Russians
or
build the pipeline going
Yeah,
all over
he just
Europe
said
and
I'll
heading
do
into
9/11
Germany, the biggest
tomorrow.
pipeline in the world.
Which
Look, Viktor
poor choice
Orban
of words, I think.
said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president, but when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but
Mr.
I'm okay
President,
with it
Mr.
because
President, your time is
I
up.
think we're
Thank
going to
you.
do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to
Is
the
my mic better now,
Israel-Hamas
by the way?
war and the hostages
No,
who
it
are still
somehow
being
works.
held Americans among
Yeah.
them. Vice President Harris, in
Dip out and
December,
then come
you
back
said,
in.
quote, Israel has a
Like, it
right
might
to
be
defend
StreamYard.
itself, but you
I'm
added, quote,
streaming.
it matters how, saying international
That's
humanitarian
right.
law
It might be
must
StreamYard,
be
so
respected.
sometimes if you dip
Israel
out and then
must
come
do
back
more
in,
to
it fixes
protect
the
innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000
No, I mean, like, you have to leave the
Palestinians
studio and
are
then come back
dead.
in.
I'm
Nearly
streaming
100
the.
Oh. No, that makes sense. No, that makes sense.
Congratulations there, bud.
Yep. Sorry. Totally forgot.
Is it still fucky?
It's iffy. You're
on.
like you're really low right now, like audio wise. I mean, I don't. It's fine. Like, we can hear you. It's just a little muffled.
That's fucking weird. I don't know why it's suddenly doing that.
like I said, it might
Yeah, I
be
don't
just
know.
StreamYard. StreamYard may be losing its fucking shit.
Yeah. Well, what I can do is this. You ready?
Yep, he's dipping out, and then he's gonna come back in.
Oh.
To be fair, we could have done this 30 seconds ago.
Oh god. Hold on, Peanut.
Yeah, Peanut.
No, it's still muffled.
What the fuck? Because on my end, everything sounds fine, so it's definitely StreamYard.
Yep.
I don't know, maybe.
Hi.
What about now?
It was
Yeah.
okay there for like half a second. I don't know what the fuck
Yeah.
happened there.
I would literally just start playing the video, and then if it gets worse, we'll let you know.
All right. Share the screen.
Peanut's purring so loud.
Remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you
Can
do
you turn
it?
the audio up just a tad?
Let's understand how we got here.
Perfect. Thank you.
October 7th, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said
Wait a
then
second.
Israel
Are you currently talking
and itself,
against
we would,
Palestine? You know,
and
the
how it does so
ones
matters.
that you
Because
your
it is
entire
also
motor
true,
base is
far too
behind
many
for some reason.
innocent Palestinians have been killed.
She's treading on thin water.
Children,
right now.
mothers.
Doing
What we
Thin water.
know is that
the
this
pretty
war
big
must
voting
end.
days.
It must end immediately, and the way
Yeah,
it will end is we
Christians
need a
outside of Berkeley.
ceasefire deal, and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
Weird.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent
the
killing
two-state
of
solution
more
was
innocent
proposed
civilians in
by
Gaza?
Israel,
If I were president,
denied by
it would have
Hamas.
never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either,
Shouldn't
by
have
the way,
said that.
for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party.
Actually true.
She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population
The thing
because
is,
the
in
whole
terms of
place
with
is going to
Obama,
get blown up.
start working with China,
Arabs,
they've already set up to do
Jewish
so.
people, Israel will
lost
be
trust in
gone.
us.
It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have
It's
my
absolutely
entire
true.
career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again,
actively come out of the news
and,
like
and
less
distract
like
from
a
the
month ago.
reality, which
Yeah,
is,
so.
it is very well known
It's only politically
that
valuable for
Donald
her
Trump
to
is
support
weak
them.
and wrong
Doesn't
on
matter.
national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself.
Oh,
It
like
is
that
well
wasn't a joke.
known that
Yeah,
he
I mean,
said
that's
of
easily
Putin
disprovable.
that
really said that
he
sarcastically.
can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known
That sounds adorable. I
that
want
these
to see that.
dictators and autocrats are rooting
No.
for you to be
This sounds
president
hilarious.
again because
I
they're
want to
so
see the
clear.
new version of the
They
interview
can
except for with Donald
manipulate
Trump.
you with flattery and favors. And
Is
that
Trump
is
the
why
honeypot in that instance?
so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is why
Again,
we
because
understand that we
The
have
ones
to
that he
have a
fired
president
because they were
who is
fucking up
not
their job.
consistently weak
Well, here's the thing.
and wrong
Kamala
on
will
national
just lie
security,
because
including
nobody's
the
going to call her on
importance
it.
of upholding and
They're fact-checking
respecting in
Trump, but not
highest
fact-checking
regard our
Kamala.
military.
So,
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And indirectly fact Trump.
And she's the one that caused it.
In some instances.
That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it.
He literally
because
did.
what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with
he wanted Biden.
the leaders
Because
of
they're the
other
weakest of
countries
the
think
two.
that they're
They're
weak
the weakest
and
of,
incompetent, and they
anyone
are.
who's Trump.
They're grossly incompetent.
Fuck, I have to
And I
finish
just
my
ask
drink
one
if
question.
he says
Why does
Putin
Biden
endorsed
go in and kill
Kamala.
the Keystone Pipeline
Don't do
and
it.
approve the
You will
single
die.
biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over Europe? Because
How much
they're
do you have
weak
left?
and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way, gets
President
paid
I'm
a
on
lot
bottle
of money.
two,
Thank you. We
so
have
a
a lot
lot.
of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate.
You guys are
with the
getting a
National Constitution
double
Center
shot.
right here in Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Oh, now keep in mind, they can't talk to their advisors or anything, so they're going to have to stand there.
The ABC News presidential debate will continue.
All right,
after
holy hell.
this.
Yeah,
I'm
this-
going to turn the volume down just in the meantime.
I mean, he wasn't wrong. Months ago, he said, yeah, ABC News is the worst of them all because like other networks are more fair than ABC News, as I believe what he said. CNN is more fair than ABC News.
Which
And-
is saying something because CNN is atrocious.
Right. And you're seeing right now it's a 3-1 on this debate. They're fact checking Trump. They're not fact checking Kamala. They're letting Kamala, they're just letting her kind of get away with some of these lies that she's telling, and
Very
they're pushing
blatant ones.
Like
way more
blatant
on Trump.
lies.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said
Yeah.
he'd be a dictator. He'd say this. It's like, no, he's never said that ever.
Okay, if you like Trump brought up the whole entire like I said that sarcastically, and they're like, oh no, we didn't read that as sarcastically. Yeah, because you guys are retarded. You guys don't read it as it being sarcastic, because if you actually admitted that it was said in sarcasm, then you wouldn't be like
nothing
you
get
wouldn't
over
have-
them. They would catch us.
Good point by Jesse, leaving her mic unmuted. Yep. And
Yeah.
Sarah Fields pointed
Yeah.
that out on X, and that's yeah.
Oh, you might be able to skip through some of the commercials because you paused it.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Thanks, Shell. That's Shell. That's Shell's big brain,
Shell,
not-
thank you, Shell.
Everybody says thank you, Chill, in the chat.
Thank you for saving us from. Are you? Is it still commercial?
It's still
that is still commercial.
Okay.
Let me just zoom ahead.
that's slow.
I thought I maxed it out. Yeah, it's literally
No,
just still.
all right. Cool. We saved some time.
Yeah. By the way, Shell's saying that your mic is also doing the muffle thing, so maybe it's just a StreamYard thing.
Yeah, it's probably StreamYard. I can dip out real quick. Hold on.
Because I checked my router on my like system, and on my end, it's a direct mixer, so I could get my direct feedback, and it's not doing it. Yep, Shell is number one. Everybody, give some love to Shell. Shell does so much epic work here.
Is that better?
I see. To me, you sounded fine. It was just I don't know if it's like the way it's being transferred to people.
Yeah, maybe it's intermittent. I don't know. Maybe it's my internet. Who knows?
You're in a very uncomfortable place, Peanut.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what? While it's commercial, I'm gonna go use the bathroom real quick. I will be right back.
Go for it, buddy. Is it starting back up?
That'd be
We
hilarious.
back on.
It is. The moment he walks away. They're gonna talk shit
Go ahead.
anyway.
I'll risk it. We'll see how long I can
Presidential
last.
debate tonight. We're going to continue here, and I want to turn to the war in Ukraine. We're now 2.5 years into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so, arguing that if Putin wins, he may be emboldened to move even further into other countries. You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
No.
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly, people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more. because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons
We
they
shouldn't
don't
protect
like
them
me
anyway.
as much as they like weak people. But
NATO. Oof.
you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify,
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes.
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts.
Don't answer with a yes or
support
no
for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
I'm sober,
Well, first
Jesse.
of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe
because
the
you
reason
ousted
that
him.
Donald Trump
Because
says that this
the-
war would be
and I'd
over
be like
within
the like a
24
dog.
hours because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here.
It's
I
not our
actually
country.
met
and in
with
fact is
Zelensky
full of
a few
fuck
days
ton of
before
criminals.
Russia
Why would we help
invaded,
them?
tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50
You were
countries
thrown out.
together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the
Billions of
Abrams
dollars.
tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands
Hundreds
as an
of billions.
independent
Sitting
free
around.
country. If Donald Trump were
They
president,
have a standstill,
Putin would be
more or less.
Steve right now.
For months.
And
if
understand
not
what
a
that
year.
would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president. And
Because
that
they
we
can get away with whatever they
understand
want
the
now.
importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have
That's
done
not true at
to
all.
preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise,
While they
Putin
cancel
would be
their
sitting
own
in Kyiv
elections,
with
because
his eyes on
democracy.
the rest of Europe,
And jail their
starting with
political
Poland. And
opponents.
why don't you tell the
Because
800,000 Polish
democracy.
Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch?
Oh,
Vice President
did
Harris,
he?
thank you. We've heard from both
Did
of you
he
on
really?
Ukraine tonight.
Like,
Afghanistan
it's
came up in the
forgetting
last
that
hour.
he was president
I wanted
before.
her to respond to something
Yeah.
you said earlier, and now, please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin
Will
would
you?
be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening. But he does have that, something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
He misspoke.
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella.
Oh, my God.
And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing
really
as
shitty
America
blowjobs.
always should. As a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much
This is
what
not
is at
a
stake here.
democracy.
The President of the United States is commander in chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO.
Yes.
We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President.
We are not a
Do
democracy.
you believe
You are
bear
correct.
any
Matt.
responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Hold on.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan.
That's Trump's.
4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's
Biden had nothing
taxpayers
to
are
do
not
with it.
paying the $300 million
Correction.
a day we were paying for
He
that
did it in such a
endless
shitty
war.
way,
And
following
as of
through
today,
with what was
there
already
is not
established.
one member of
That
the
we are
United
now the
States
laughingstock in the
military
entire
who is
Middle
in
East.
active duty in a
And most
combat
people that
zone
are
in
former
any
active
war
duty
zone
and are
around
current
the world
active
the first
duty
time this
fucking
century.
hate you.
But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 terrorists, Taliban terrorists
using a Venn
released.
diagram.
And get this, get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American
A
diplomacy,
place
we
where I've
invite
gotten
and
blisters on my
receive
kneecaps.
respected world leaders. And
Do you know how many bruises that are on my ass from there?
former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again
Listen to his
appreciate
response, though.
the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations
thank
with the
you.
Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And
He
said,
showed him
"Why
a
do you
picture
see
of his
a picture
house.
of my house?"
He
I
said,
said, "You're
I
gonna
will
have to
kill you
figure
if
that out,
another
Abdul."
American is killed.
For 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move
And
on.
these people did the worst withdrawal. And
I want to
in
move
my
on. You
opinion,
made a good point.
You've brought up the
embarrassing
truth. We
moment
can't
in
be
the
having
history of our
that.
country. And
I want
by
to
the
move
way,
on.
that's
I want
why
to move away from
Russia
you bringing up
attacked
all of their
Ukraine,
failures.
because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black." I want to ask a bigger picture question.
No, I agree with
Why
this
do you
statement.
believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
When she uses it.
I don't care what she is.
Hold on.
I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm asking.
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me.
Even
That's up
Jamaican.
to her.
Yeah.
That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
Oh, God.
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's tragic that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people.
You mean
I
you?
do believe that the vast majority
Coming
of
from
us
the
know
side
we
that
have so much more in
demonizes
common than what
whites
separates us,
in
and we don't want
schools.
this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's
burn in
remember
fucking hell.
how Donald Trump started. He was
The first desegregationist
land, he owned
within the
buildings,
Florida country club
and
scene.
He
That
was
guy.
investigated because he refused to rent
I'm gonna go get an ice cream
property
sandwich.
to black
This is dumb.
families. Let's remember, this is the same individual
Lie.
who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country.
No, you don't.
We see in each other a friend. We see in each
It
other
wasn't
a
until like
neighbor.
right before this
We
debate
don't
that anybody had
want
seen
a
you, because
leader
every time
who
they
is
tried to get a hold of you,
constantly trying
they
to
were
have
told you weren't
Americans
in.
point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me,
To brainwash them.
can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their
You know what? I
grandmother
think they
speaks,
brought
we
up
all
America.
have the same dreams and
She has brought up more
aspirations and want a
America more
president
in this
who
debate
invests
than
in
she did in the
those,
entire
not in
DNC.
hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your third time.
Yeah, respond.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had.
Biden-Harris administration.
Economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Time's up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly.
Oh, my God.
Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country.
No, you don't. You're in power right now.
Believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead
What is going
of
on with your
always
cheekbones, lady?
disparaging the American people. I believe in what
You
we
have
can
really
do
bad
to
Botox in your face.
strengthen our small businesses, which is why
You
I
are
have a
older
plan.
than
Let's talk
Obama
about
when
our
he
plan.
was president.
And let's compare
What are
the
you
plans.
talking about, this new generation bull crap?
To
That's
give
because she wants to do the whole
startup
Steve Buscemi, you know, like,
$50,000
hello,
tax
fellow kids.
deduction.
Yeah.
To pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your
That you
child's
stole
life
from
to
J.D.
help
Vance.
you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about
I
allowing
want
people to be able
Trump
to
to just straight
pursue
up go like, did you
what
steal
has been
that land
fleeting
from my own
towards
running
the
mate?
American dream by offering a
mean,
help
she's
with
literally doing
down
what
payment of
Biden's done. Biden's full
$25,000 down
fluffy,
payment
plagiarized
assistance
before.
for first-time home buyers.
It's why he dropped out of the
That's kind
first
of conversation,
presidential
I believe,
run.
David,
Yeah,
that
I
people
get
really
plagiarizing.
want tonight,
Yeah, because
as
of plagiarism.
opposed to a conversation that is
Or was it
constantly about
70s? Can't remember.
belittling and
80s?
name-calling. Let's turn the page
Vice President
and move
Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President
Let's
Trump,
turn back
we
to
have
policy.
to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy,
She has
please.
a plan to defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President
She
Trump,
Comrade
has a
Kamala.
plan
Just
to
call her
not
name.
allow fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsey,
to
go
respond
ahead.
because
Trump,
the
President
former
Trump.
president has
Oh,
said
geez.
something twice.
Ugh.
I'm sorry. We're going
All right, you know
move on,
what?
Vice
One
President
time,
Harris.
Warren's it.
President Trump, this is now your
Yes.
third
Yeah.
time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also
Yes,
known as Obamacare.
please.
You have failed
Please
to
do.
accomplish that. You now
Yes,
say
I
you're
would
gonna
like my
keep
insurance to not be
Obamacare, quote,
2,000% more
unless we can do
expensive.
something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always
Yes.
was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than
Wasn't
Obamacare.
John McCain one of the
But
votes
the
that, like,
Democrats
did
came
a
up,
citing
they
vote?
wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to
Yeah.
make when I was president.
Remember, we have
Do I
to
save it and
pass
make
it before
as
we
good
can
as
know
it
what's
can
in
be?
it.
Never going to be great.
Right.
Or do I
Brilliant.
let it
Brilliant
rot?
strategy.
And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have a really
Yes.
bad ones. The
Okay,
difference is
you
they
had a
get
lot
rid
of bad.
Let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing, but it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our
The rum's
people,
not
our
good,
population, less money and
Got
be
3
better
bottles of
health
it.
care than Obamacare, then I would
Fresh 2.5
absolutely do
bottles
it.
of it.
But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan.
I have concepts of a plan.
Literally just
I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it
What the fuck
if
are
we
you
come up with
smiling about,
something that's
bitch?
better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options
no, I'm going to clip
we
this for
have
later.
to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in
Donald Trump doesn't have a
2017, you
plan for
supported
healthcare.
Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with
It's probably
private
already
insurance
tweeted
and
out
create
from
a
her account.
government-run healthcare system.
But
2
you're
years later,
using
you
Bernie
proposed a plan
Sanders.
that included
Don't
a
use
private
Bernie
insurance
Sanders.
option.
He's a
What
moron.
is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get
Yes,
to that.
grow
Lindsay. I
the
just need to
thing that's
respond to a
fucking me
previous
over.
point
Right.
that the former president
And
has
millions
made.
of others.
I've made very
Yeah.
clear my
Yep.
position on fracking, and then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away.
Oh,
So
yes,
stop
yes,
with
you
the
are.
continuous lying about this
You
stuff.
literally just said it a
As it
couple
relates
days
to the
ago.
Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60
Would it
times
be like,
he tried to
I
get
don't
rid
know,
of the Affordable
something
Care
they
Act.
could do where he just
60
pulls out his
times.
cell
I
phone
was
with
a
like clips
senator
of her
at the
actually
time.
saying this shit?
When I will
Oh,
never
that's what I'd
forget
do.
the early morning hours.
Like, don't
when
even fucking
it was up
say
for a
anything
vote in the
anymore.
United
Just
States
entirely
Senate.
every
And the
rebuttal is just
late,
a
great
clip of
John
her own
McCain,
speeches.
who you have disparaged as being you don't like him.
let's end
you
this like a
said, at the
90s
time
movie.
because he got
Hold
caught.
on.
He was an American hero. The late great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, "No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan." And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of
always
insurance companies
been
to
a
deny
piece of
people with
shit.
pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight.
Hey, I have a
remember what that was
pre-existing
like?
condition.
Remember when an insurance company
My
could
insurance
deny
never dropped me before
if a child
Obamacare.
had asthma, if someone
Fucking
was
weird.
a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes, and thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years
know
have
what? You know
strengthened
what? I
the
have a
Affordable
plan.
Care Act,
I've
we
got a
have
plan,
allowed for the
guys.
first time Medicare to negotiate
It's
drug
called,
prices on behalf of you, the American
imprisoning
people.
everyone
Donald
in
Trump said
charge
he
of
was going to
these
allow Medicare to
insurance
negotiate
companies and
drug prices. He never
abolishing
did. We did.
all of them.
And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors
and then having
at
all of them
$2,000 a
audited
year.
to
And
find out
when
why
I
the
am
fuck all of
president,
our money keeps
we will
going to
do
them,
that
but it
for all
doesn't
people
improve anything.
By the way,
understanding
insulin is
that
not
the
currently
value I
$35
bring
a
to
month.
this is that access to health care
No,
should
no,
be a
no.
right
It is.
and
It's
not
that
just a
cost for
privilege of
insurance to
those
buy
who can
it from
afford
the
it.
producer.
And the
They're
plan
going to charge
needs to
you.
be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice
Fastest
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made a
of
mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that
Like
we'd like
Canada.
to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in
fuck
particular
Canada.
younger voters, and that's climate change. President
Oh,
Trump, with regard
fuck.
to the environment, you say
Climate
that we have
fucking
to have
change.
clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask
See, I like
anyone who lives in a
Vivek's
state who has
climate change
experienced these
agenda
extreme
is the
weather
hoax.
occurrences, who
Yes.
now is either being
Alarmism.
denied home insurance or it's being jacked
Yeah.
up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased
Investing
domestic
means
gas
more of your
production
money
to
from
historic
taxes.
levels, We have
So,
created over
lovely.
800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement
Really?
of
Because
the
Ford
United
kept
Auto
their plant
Workers and
here and
Sean
not in
Fain,
Mexico.
who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can
To be
do
fair,
around American
the Biden
manufacturing and
administration has
opening
completely
up
ignored
auto plants,
Tesla,
not
who's
closing
trying
them
to
like
build
happened
a
under
lot more
Donald Trump.
Vice
in America.
President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under
Completely
Donald Trump.
ignoring
Let me
them.
just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates in a
Oh my
historic
God,
night this
bathroom break.
ABC
I'll be
News
right back.
presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Is everybody having fun? Are you
The
enjoying
ABC
this?
News presidential debate will
Here's a kitty.
continue after this.
Baywatch is a fantasy. Baywatch was sexy. Baywatch was the #1 show
sound
in
is
the
still
world.
here.
When you hear
It's so loud. What's up, guys? How are all of you? You all having a good evening? Peanut's trying to move it into my lap further. He's clawing the shit out of my arm underneath him. Oh, he's a good boy. Yes, he is. I don't think my mic's picking it up. He's purring so loud that it's actually vibrating on me. Oh, you're a good boy. He's upset I wasn't here last night. So now he's trying to, like, literally climb into me. He is a good baby. Oh. Fuck it. This is the stream now.
Yeah, so no, you know what's funny? Tack and
The fact that I'm sitting here
stream,
petting a cat.
Well, no, Tack and I's first stream was the Brennan Herrera election, right?
Yeah.
And we had thousands of people watching that. And like it ended up like 68,000 people watched that video of us covering the entire 6-hour span of the election.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, we currently only have like what,
that's full
62 people on here
Yeah, well, it was funny
for the
because
presidential election.
Well, not only that, this is a new channel, to be fair. That was on my channel.
Yeah, and that's very fair. But it was funny because he left me alone several times with his chat, and I had never been on a stream before, so I was just like, I have no idea what's going on. Ooh,
Just make noise. The entire
You've gotten
thing.
better.
I've gotten a lot better, but
You've
man,
gotten way more
yeah.
used to it now. It was just new to you, you know? But it was still kind of fun.
Oh, it was so much fun.
By the way, Donut just retweeted the White House statement from, Team Biden Kamala, saying that they want to ban, your guns.
Beautiful.
Yep. So kind of like she's lying. So I just retweeted it and I said, I operate on the assumption that anytime she opens her mouth, she's fucking lying. Mind you, that does include when she's on her knees.
That's because you are getting the clap afterwards.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
How's the debate going? Riley asks. Well, I've drank a lot more. I killed a bottle of fucking rye whiskey, and I'm about halfway done with this one.
Okay, we got it's still commercial. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's still I got it. I've got it up. I've just got it muted, but I am side-eyeing it.
Yeah, so I missed this, but apparently Kamala said that January 6th was the worst, was worse than 9/11 on the eve of 9/11.
I missed that too. Hey, don't many people died during 9/11?
A lot more people than January 6th.
By a factor of what? Like, a couple thousand?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's kind of wild. But they never push back on her about that or anything.
Yes, potato.
You guys can see that, right?
Yeah.
Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And
So
what
basically that's where she said since basically worse than 9/11.
Trump
So it was implied.
It was implied. Which
Okay.
yeah, that makes a little bit more sense.
Pretty sure 9/11
I don't
was
remember that.
worse.
Yeah.
Just saying, just putting that out there.
Yeah, 9/11 was definitely worse than January 6th.
Yeah.
sure.
without a fucking doubt.
For sure.
By the way, do you guys?
I'm just trying to do devil's advocate of this. I think she's trying to say from inside, and nobody has officially said that 9/11.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. But inside or not, then you have all of the BLM riots that caused billions.
Oh yeah, I would call those way fucking worse. But those were on her side, and she was trying to order them, so that doesn't count.
Oh, thank God, it's almost over.
Muted. It's muted.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward.
Yeah,
but we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us, and we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity
Right now would be a
economy,
great time for his Indian
investing in
remarks
small
to just play
businesses,
everything
in
that she
new
lied about
families,
during this debate.
what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living.
We could have
I
Vivek
believe
debating Kamala.
in what we can do together.
Brutal.
That is about sustaining America's
I think we
standing
still
in the
should.
world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never
I want new
asked
counsel.
a victim or a witness
Agreed.
if you're a Republican or a Democrat. The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves
Insignificant
first.
defense.
I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Accurate, James.
Yep.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it?
Yes.
She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like We're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughing. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution
You know
Center.
what? Can I just say,
Can
I just say, by the way, so that's it. Do we want to watch the after commentary from these two?
No, absolutely
right.
not.
That's what I thought, but I figured I'd ask.
No thanks.
I don't give a fuck about what those tools have to say.
Can I also just say, as somebody who lives in the state of Pennsylvania, yeah, and they can't put those on Trump because here's the thing: arm the schools. Very fucking simple. But I would like to point out. I would like to point out that I live. I live in Pennsylvania. The fact that I now know, and it has been reinforced in my brain, that Kamala Harris is currently in my state, in a shit part of it that has been ruined by Democrat policies for a very long time.
I think we were saying in the previous episode, like Philly is just an awful city.
Philly is one of the worst cities. I hate Philly.
I've ever visited.
It's a horrendous place. What I will say is this: I genuinely feel like the air has gotten thicker here. When I went to go piss, right? Took a look outside, and I just feel like the air is somehow more toxic, knowing that there is a politician like that in my state. I feel like there is grime coming off of her and spreading through the wind, getting caught on an updraft and being taken into the mountains where I live. It is a horrendous thing to know.
Feel it in
I just
the
want
air.
to point that out.
I can feel it in the water.
A
time comes.
You'll get the
Just
waft
the
soon.
intro to
You're
the Lord of
north
the
me,
Rings.
my friend. The waft, the updraft will continue to New York. By the way, I would also like to point out that there was a question from Defiant Elves on X, and they said, has the debate so far changed your opinion on who you're voting for? And I would like to pose that question to everybody here. Has this debate changed any opinions?
No.
No.
Now, then I pose another question, okay? The debate, well, it's not really a question, more a statement. The debate debates have never, ever changed the mind of a particular voter who is left or right.
No.
That has already been done. It is like the 3% of independents that claim still that they're so undecided. I don't know how one can be so indecisive when it used to cost me $30 to fill up my trucks. It now costs me about $120. It used to cost me about half as much for groceries. It used to, thank God I'm not on the energy grid, and I do have solar for my home because those rates have gone up as well. How you are still indecisive when life is objectively, scientifically, and mathematically more expensive and worse is fucking beyond me. I do not understand independent voters at this point. But I also want to announce my answer to Defiant L's. PA voter here. I'm still voting for Trump, but now I'm going to do it even harder.
To walk in with an erection.
I'm going to walk in. I'm going to take like 7 or 8 Viagra, a couple Cialis, and then I'm going to chew that gum. What's that gum that they do now? The boner gum. I'm going to chew the boner gum, and I'm going to walk in there, and I'm going to be rock solid while I vote for Donald Trump.
He's also going to drink an entire bottle of X-Lax just so it's a wet splash when he leaves.
Yeah, no. I want to ruin that booth for whomever goes in after me.
Oh God, it's going underneath the curtain.
Blue Chew, thank you. Jesse got it. Blue Chew. I've seen the commercials on like TikTok and shit like that. Just could not remember the name of it. So boner gum. It's a better name for it. Boner gum. Blue Chew. That is like what they're trying to do is it's like the discreet packaging. No, just call it boner gum. People will buy it. You know, I'd buy it just for the fucking shits and gigs of it, you know, like fucking going out to dinner with a wife. Hey, babe, what are you chewing? Boner gum. Sir, why do you have a massive erection? Boner gum. Sir, this is a Wawa. What?
It's not only election day, it's erection day as well.
Erection day. I'm going to do this. Bet. Fucking bet. So here's the thing. Is anyone surprised? Because the one thing that I will say I actually wasn't completely opposed to from Team Kamala, because I would like to say this, the $50,000 tax credit for new businesses.
I mean, that would be great.
I mean,
but if it didn't have the strings attached.
Eliminate taxes altogether, and you won't have... The reason that
you wouldn't have to promise that kind of stuff.
The reason that you currently have them being able to promise taxes on either side of the aisle, and it's used as a tool, just like the abortion argument is used as a tool to say me, not them.
Mm-hmm.
Eliminate these things. That's the great thing about Roe v. Wade is it eliminated it. You actually want it, vote locally. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
Do the same for taxes. Do the same for fucking everything, because then it can no longer be weaponized to help or hurt you.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it. But in the context of where we are, yes, new businesses should have zero tax liability. As far as I'm concerned. That's the best way, that and deregulate the fuck out of it. So then it doesn't cost you a cent to start a new business. That's how you get people to start businesses. Just saying. Taxes should be voluntary, by the way.
Yeah. It should be like I saw somebody say this, and I don't know that I disagree with it, but I also don't know if I quite agree with it. The government should be like a GoFundMe, like, hey, if you want this, donate to this. You know, we'll give you this, and this.
I talked about that on my I want to be God Emperor of the United States stream.
Yeah, I might have taken it from that. Yeah. It's not a bad idea.
Well, it puts the power back into the people that claim they want things. Right. So say you do want a portion of, let's just even take it to the furthest extreme, socialized medicine, right? You get a thing and you say, I do not want this. Okay, you put no. Somebody else puts yes. The person who puts yes now has $25 added to their tax liability. Let's just say. Okay, cool. That money goes to them and they get to utilize it. But the people who voted no don't get to utilize it. Wow, what a fucking concept. The people that buy things get to use the thing that they bought. So strange.
Whoa.
It's nuts, man.
It's almost like that. There's an evil word that the left likes to say that is.
Capitalism.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, it's literally, it's capitalistic voting. It is free market voting. If your idea is so good, it shouldn't have to be forced or thrust upon the remainder of people who did not want it.
Agreed.
Yep. Yeah. So tariffs, fucking more or less. Now, mind you, to my knowledge, the tariffs that Trump has proposed would be similar to the ones that Canada just put on the EVs coming into Canada. He wants to. They're Chinese EVs. He's like, no, there should be tariffs. We should be funding, stateside rather than their shit. I'm of the mind that there are two ways to look at it. That you have the open market of ideas that you should be able to pick and choose based on quality. That's my ultimate goal, right? But utopias don't exist. But we currently have a floundering manufacturing sector. Now, I don't believe in strong arming manufacturing back into the US while it is unaffordable and unsustainable. You have to repeal the shit that made Detroit the shithole that it is and return it back to Motor City. You have to change the regulations here to make it conducive to business. Haven't heard that, sadly, from either. I've heard it from Vivek. That's who I've heard it from. And Vivek is on Team Trump, and that is what I'm hopeful for.
Man, Vivek. I would have loved to have seen him. Man, I would have loved to have seen him go up against Kamala. I mean, as a VP, but I mean, given how everything's kind of shaken up, it's like still.
Wait, was Saturn a Canadian car company?
I don't know. I'm not too sure about that one. I don't know.
No, I'm gonna look it up.
I thought it was a planet, to be honest.
Oh my god.
That as far as my Saturn knowledge goes.
I just typed in on Google and it says, I typed in, was Saturn a Canadian? And then it said planet.
Canadian planet.
Yes.
Well,
you know what? Saturn is a Canadian planet, eh? Those rings are made of ice. We play hockey there. No, it was American. It was not Canadian. It was a United States company.
Dun, dun, dun.
Saturn.
All right.
So Saturn was a General Motors, which was directly trying to compete with Japanese imports and transplants initially in the U.S. compact car market. I will tell you this as somebody who knows quite a few people who have bought a Saturn Ion. They were the worst fucking cars in all of existence, and two of them lit on fire.
All right.
Saturn sucked.
I mean,
I've never owned a Saturn.
There was exactly, I forget which model of it was, but there was a Saturn 2-door that was like damn near invincible. Like their selling point was the fact that like you could hit it with a sledgehammer and the doors would just like.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
But the original engine they had in it was actually fucking ridiculous. And it was one of those that like people were buying this car not just because the outside of it was extremely durable, but because all you needed to do was replace the transmission in it, and you had like the world's best drift car. On a budget.
Well, I know people you do that with the, what is it, the 370Z is like a huge drift car now, like the Nissans and stuff like that.
It's the equivalent of like it was so low to the ground and worked so well in that area, and the fact that it had the ability that our whole thing is the fact that it's durable. So also, even if you did slam into the wall, you aren't fucking it up.
So just want to point out, Ford is currently recalling and being sued, class action, for their EcoBoost engines. They're shit. They knew they were shit, and they were designed to intentionally fail right after the 60,000 mark, which was the warranty period.
Most of them are making it.
Saturn Sky. The Saturn Sky is what chat's saying, Dimmy. That was the 2-door.
Oh, yeah. It was an all right vehicle. Like, I drove it quite a bit.
Well, wasn't there was the Saturn Sky, and then there was the Pontiac version. What was it, the Sunfire or something like that?
The Sunfire was damn good. Like, they were almost identical cars, too.
They looked very similar from what I remember. But going back to the debate, I will say, and I agree with Josie, I think it was Josie who just said it on X, and I agree with this. We've seen Kamala off script, and we've seen Kamala on script. This was Kamala on script.
Yep.
Well,
I mean, did you not see her literally looking through her notes and writing down in it?
That's the thing. They said in the beginning, none of the candidates have been given these questions. I don't believe that.
Yeah, I don't know. She did kind of seem a little bit scripted compared to what we have heard from her in the past.
Yeah.
Josie just tweeted, after this very slanted debate, I don't feel any less unburdened by what has been.
Thank you, Josie. Here's the thing. The debate tonight obviously changed, I'm going to say, zero of our minds.
Yeah.
That's just the way I see it. And also, why am I getting so many notifications?
Phil Labonte tweeted out, Kamala Harris did not deny being a Marxist. She didn't deny it. She just laughed. She just like stood there and then like kind of like, grinned a little bit, but she didn't deny it.
Well, she's, as you said,
she's not
raised
a
by
Marxist. The thing is, she's not a Marxist. She's an idiot. I mean, those are kind of synonymous, but still.
Yeah, I was about to say.
What's worse, an
difference?
idiotic Marxist?
Well, the thing is, I don't see her as a Marxist. I think she's a power-hungry piece of shit. And, while most Marxists are power-hungry pieces of shit, she's leading into it, trying to make everybody believe it's Marxism, English hard. And is, in fact, leading it into, what we've always seen communism become. Dictatorships, oligarchies, etc.
See, the way I see it is you have people like Bernie Sanders, right? And the reason that Bernie Sanders can at least get a touch of respect from me is at least he's honest about the fact that he's a Marxist piece of shit.
He's so Marxist, even other so-called Marxists don't like him.
Yes. Yeah, they kicked him out of the communist commune for being lazy. That's how much of a Marxist he is. But I would like to also point out that I will trust somebody who is straight to my face. Yes, I believe this. Because at least I know where they stand. The problem is when you have people that deny that. Yeah, you have people like Kamala who deny that. You have people like Obama who denied Keynesian economics, which, mind you, for anybody who doesn't... amongst other things. But for anybody who doesn't know what that means, that is, we're going to boost the economy by having somebody throw a rock through your window, so then we get more people who are window repairmen. Mm-hmm. That is quite literally the theory. Yeah, beautiful logic. Fantastic. Create problems that need to be solved by government. But the problem is you have people like Obama, you have people like Biden, you have people like Kamala who lie about it. And then people are fooled by it. And then it happens because the people that knew that they were lying about it, are just like, well, fuck you.
All I'm saying is if you get any of your donation money from, an organization instead of an individual, you should be able to follow that legally, you should be able to follow that entire trail and figure out exactly where it came from.
Super PAC should be banned.
So that we can also then see how many of them are getting funded directly from places like, I don't know, the CCP.
Yeah. Now, there are certain politicians like Matt Gaetz who refuse to take Super PAC donor money.
There are. Isn't, what's his name? Mike Lee as well?
I'm not sure if Mike Lee, he might be. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. He might be. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
That's awesome if he doesn't take it. That's awesome. I know that I think Vivek turned down a lot of Super PAC money. Maybe not all of it, but a lot.
Not all of it, because one of the things that actually went against him for the presidential running was the fact that he found out that he was getting money from Soros and a couple of those other groups.
Okay, that was also.
It was false, but it's still one of those things where people were trying to track Super PAC money.
It was way back when he was like 25 and doing college things. But that was a complete lie.
Because that's something my father keeps trying to bring up, and I'm just like, dude, that was a lie, but keep talking about it, I guess.
And literally included all the debunked stuff that everybody had on them.
Yeah. I don't know. The way I see it is this. I will say this was way more hectic than
the Biden and Trump debate.
Than the Biden and Trump one, which was CNN, correct? CNN was the one who did that.
CNN.
They handled it much better. They also did not inject their own fucking supposed fact checking because, mind you, they're lying on the abortion argument. Once again, partial birth abortion.
Not to be fair,
that fucking exists.
I think the reason they weren't doing fact checking is because they were actively part of the group that was trying to get Biden out.
I think that you're probably right on that. I genuinely agree. But
it wasn't the fact that they were trying to let Trump go. It's the fact that they were trying to get Biden the fuck out and try to make him look as bad as possible.
Yeah, but now you have
nobody would fight back when they actively like illegally dragged him out of it.
There
You
is.
definitely saw a different Trump tonight than you did during the
He
Biden.
looked fucking exhausted.
I also will say he got baited quite a few times.
He did. He absolutely did. And I hated that because it was like the 2020 election. Like he definitely fell for a couple of those traps. And it's just like, stop. But then he did say, we need to move on. You know, that's in the past or whatever he said. But he said something towards that effect. Donut and Tack are still both coherent.
Let me see. Scale from 1 to 10. I'm going to at Donut real quick. Just be like, scale from 1 to 10. How drunk are you? Because I'm still sober.
Don't start your tweet with an at.
Okay.
It buries it.
Got you.
Like,
so
if you
I'm
do,
still
period
sober, oddly enough.
I'm not drunk, but I do have a kitty.
At Donut, how you doing on your end, bud? Let me post that. There we go. Let's see how Donut's doing. Let's see how he's feeling. I'm sure. Well, here's the thing. Donut drinks. Like, he might have just been already pre-gaming tonight, like way more than I did. I feel like that is a very distinct possibility as well.
I think a lot of people were probably pre-gaming before this, for sure.
I was driving.
You were driving, yes. I felt the need to pregame, and I still feel like it wasn't enough because, can I just say something?
No.
I can't stand to hear Kamala speak.
It's grating.
It is like just hearing her talk is annoying. And off-putting because
it's like that really annoying kindergarten teacher that you're trying to get your kid out of that class because you understand they're not going to learn anything from that bitch.
Yeah. It's that, and then also it's there's something like I have this disconnect whenever she speaks where I just know full well that everything she's saying is completely, she's just saying
bullshit.
She's just saying it to attempt to convince a small segment of whomever. So there's no honesty in it. I just and I get that from politicians on both sides, but I get it so much from her that I just can't stand to. I can't stand. You know who else? I can't stand to hear Nancy Pelosi speak.
Oh my God, not her. Oh man,
it physically hurts.
Irrelevant. She's irrelevant. I don't want to think about her anymore.
But my point being is, like, I get that from her as well.
That's all you got to do.
I mean, I believe the accent is called dumb cunt.
It's whatever it's called. It is horrendous that this is the state of affairs of American politics.
Yeah,
that it has gotten to the point where not only is the bias plain to see, like, there's no way to look at that and be like, yeah, the moderators were not biased. I mean, they very openly were.
They only checked Kamala like 2 or 3 times, and it was only like, hey, we need to move on. And not,
it was basically like,
hey, you're bringing up a blatant lie, or here's what we've heard about you. Take this very political comment that we're taking out of context.
Well, it was basically
explain
like
yourself.
It was ABC basically saying, Trump, why are you racist? And then ABC's like, Kamala, why is Trump racist? And it's like,
yeah, it's like, what kind of question? You saw on X, people are like, oh, okay, so they're race baiting, like, free and open. First off, the fact that is even brought up as a legitimate question is just because they want to make it an issue. They want to make it an issue. Racism exists. Want to know why? Humans exist. Yep. Does it exist to the degree that they say it does? Fuck no. Not. Now, what I said recently in a YouTube comment today, actually on the video today, was somebody said that they said that I dropped the ball when I said, and by the way, you know, I don't give a shit what color, creed, whatever you are, as long as you come here the right way. And they said, oh, well, you just lost the entire argument by saying that, oh, I'm not a racist because. No, I am a racist. I hate the human race. There's one race. I don't care what color you happen to be within that. I despise the human race. Why do you think I live so far away from it? Just want to make that point.
Yeah, it's like let's not get alone near all these weird people.
You know,
Like,
I gotta say, I'm gonna be really happy on Friday that we're not gonna have to talk about politics.
I was just about to bring up, like, Friday is gonna be like a no politic at all kind of talk.
It's gonna be drinks and just
It's
I'm gonna be half awake at work.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah,
but
Friday is gonna be super fun.
Yeah.
Today we kind of got out of the we got politics out of the way for this week, right? And you know, it's not fun. Sometimes it is, because it's like, how is this happening? But then other times you're like, oh, how is this happening?
Very dumb.
It really sucks.
From a theory perspective, it's fun. In a practice,
yes.
Well, it's nightmarish that we're living through it.
It's one of those things that if anybody were writing about or like having a movie about the shit that is happening right now, they'd go, that is too heavy-handed. That was never happen.
If you went back 10 years ago and said, hey, in 10 years this is what's going to happen, you'd be like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
You're the one that wanted down.
Friday is going to be a very fun show. It's probably going to be my favorite.
I think it might even be my favorite.
Yeah, it is. We got some cool stuff planned.
It's going to be a nice breather because let's just be real. It is election season. And as it is election season, a lot of what you're going to see is political because welcome to election season. Taking a break from that to just sit there and relax and talk about movies and concepts and lore and all of that is going to be not even a breath of fresh air. It's going to be like stepping out into the alpine fucking mountains and then eating one of those, like, what's that mint that they use, like biting into a York peppermint patty or whatever. What's that thing? You bite into that thing and you go to the top of the mountain or whatever. That I'm going to feel like that. What is it? Andes? No, that wasn't the commercial for Andes. I think
York.
I thought it was York.
I don't remember the commercial, but I mean York. Yeah.
I thought York was the one that like they made the commercials. It's like biting into this peppermint patty. It's like this, and then it's like I'm on top of the Mount Everest or something.
Are there? Yeah, York.
Yeah.
What's like the chew 5 gum?
It was York.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I equate it to like you go to a concert to kind of escape what's happening in reality. It's your getaway, right?
Movies
it's like
too.
Exactly. Movies do that exactly.
Media.
Do that very well. Consuming media that makes you feel a certain way, like happy and not sad, like this does, it's a good thing. And so we definitely have Friday planned for that. It's definitely exactly what Tex said. It's a breather. It's a step back. It's just there's more going on than just politics, and that's a good thing.
Good.
But by the way, I would just like to, before we end, read some of the replies that I got on X today.
Yeah, go for it.
About this. So we have one from Rugged Senpai who says, debate made me drunk as shit. That was a goddamn shit show. Base Jeeves says, I am the liquor, when asking how drunk they are.
It's a good
response. We have Jesse who says, I watched this tweet in real time, and that was where I said that Zelensky and Putin are both pieces of shit.
Yeah.
We have Mr. Kangaroo saying Kamala is such a horrible speaker. She should just shut up and get her tits out. To which I replied, I don't believe that I want to see more of her.
Something tells me it's going to be like seeing a $2 whore that's been working on the streets for 40 years.
I feel like they're going to be what I would call alternating SAG, where one SAGs far more than the other, but it changes daily. And also we have quite a few people that noticed that the moderators did not mute Kamala's mic.
Oh no!
On several occasions.
Why would they? Well, they started out with it, and then I did notice that on several occasions they did not.
About halfway through.
Now I will say they did a good job of actually unmuting Trump when he did go to respond, and
I will give them that.
Like, it's like they easily could have kept them muted and just like really just try to go on, but they didn't. They actually did give him a word when he wanted to, which was kind of a shock. But I mean,
they didn't want to hear that fucking rebuttal.
Yeah, they did not want to hear Kamala anymore. They're like, oh, please talk.
They like being told who to vote for. But that's what they like.
It's also a tactic of them to be like, the more Trump says, the more we can use to bury him.
Yes.
So there's also that.
CNN's ratings had never been higher than during the Trump presidency, and then they died literally. You could watch the graph. They nosedive.
I think even the airports we're like, we're gonna cut them off. I'm not sure if that if that ever took place, but I think
I know that there was talks about it, but I also know that their stock has fallen. New York Times stock has fallen. Like
it's almost like most people have turned away from those media sources and have turned to either like YouTube and things like that, or
independent creators.
But a fuck ton of people have also turned to things like Newsmax. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but they're trying to get away from CNN, Fox, etc.
Yeah.
Somebody just retweeted me because I said I operate in the assumption that whenever she opens her mouth, she's lying. And then Auspician said, I operate as a retard and I'm proud, in quotes. So I'm thinking that that's them calling me a retard, and I'm really sure that their 15 followers appreciates that.
Hey, we got breaking news. You ready for this?
Yeah, what's the breaking news?
You want to take a wild stab at who Taylor Swift just endorsed?
Kamala.
Yep, she did.
Whoa, yeah. No, I remember reading an article this morning actually saying that if she doesn't endorse somebody, then that'll mean it's a brand new her. It's like, no, she's going to endorse Kamala. We all know she's going to endorse Kamala.
Yeah, you knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Gross.
It's
I don't
just
even know
ridiculous.
All I'm saying is the real thing is James Earl Jones died, and I think we should just be
dude.
Yeah. When I posted that on my YouTube community page as well, because I posted the image of him, and somebody replied. It was this morning. They replied with he knew Babe Ruth, and that just made me so unbelievably happy because my first movie that I ever watched him in was The Sandlot.
The Sandlot,
and The Sandlot was also one of my first movies, just period. Right? The Sandlot,
a great
hook.
Kids movie.
Good movie. Can
Such
we
a great
do a watch
movie.
party on your Discord and just watch The Sandlot?
At some point, we sure can.
Yeah, at some point. Not tonight.
No,
Definitely
not tonight.
I
have to go to
tired.
bed. But what I will say is James Earl Jones passing, he was 93. He lived a fantastic life.
Went through a whole lot, especially in the media world. Like, he helped pioneer a bunch of shit.
Well, he was iconic. I'd say the only other person who has like a voice to his level would be Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freeman
as like something that you can pick out and be like, yep, that's him.
Yeah. Richards. Keith David.
You okay over there, bud? I don't know.
Keith David?
I don't know if he.
I don't know who that is.
Or not. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Am I having a stroke?
Yeah, maybe if I saw a picture, but not the
or maybe
name.
if you told me like who they voiced.
They're a voice actor in a fuck ton of games, TV shows.
Oh, that's probably why I don't think it.
No, they then went on to they're in a bunch of movies too. My brain is pulling a blank on movies other than he's the voodoo dude from Princess and the Frog. But he was like the main person, the sergeant that is constantly berating Master Chief in Halo.
Oh, him. Okay, that I know.
Okay, the black dude with the fucking cigar.
Admiral Anderson.
Yeah.
From Mass Effect. Captain Anderson.
Yeah, Keith Davidson fucking he's in everything. Like legitimately, he's in everything, and he's one of those.
I feel like that's more your niche.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's one of those where I just realized he was in everything, and he's like in a ton of games, in a ton of animated movies. Is in a
but
here's the background of anybody from motion pictures too.
And anybody from my daughter's age to my grandfather would know James Earl Jones. Like my daughter, and you want to know how I know my daughter knows it? Mind you, my daughter's 13 because she told me.
Yeah.
She told me Darth Vader. And I'm like, yeah.
Darth Vader. Yeah.
The most iconic, fucking voice performance through Darth Vader. And then I was like, immediately, I was like, oh, Sandlot. That's my main thing that I remember from.
Same thing too. Yep. Like him, not as like a voice, but him as like a person. The Sandlot. That's where, like, that's where I was like, oh, the voice and the person. That's where I connected it. It was like, oh, the Sandlot. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because
good movie.
Such a good movie. But it was, because like with Darth Vader, it was behind the mask. You know, that was the voice. But with Sandlot, it was
he wasn't even wearing the mask.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. It was just his voice, you know?
It was like they had somebody else playing it. Like, I'm not that big of a fan to tell you who it was, but they tried his voice originally and it just did not sound
good. It's awful.
No, it didn't sound good. I remember hearing that recently. It wasn't good, but
so they just revoiced Darth Vader while still keeping the original dude in the outfit.
By the way, I just got another tweet from what is that? Comrade Monkey is asking, so how did it go under the drinking game? I said, I'm oddly enough sober. So
you did not drink, not nearly enough then.
I drank an entire bottle of, what is this? 96.5 proof whiskey.
Yeah,
and then half a bottle of, what is it? 127.3.
Yeah, how are you functioning? How are you?
Because I'm hypermetabolic, so my body just metabolizes alcohol at an accelerated
rate. I
rate.
Realize this was over 3 hours that he's done this.
Yeah. Well,
that's fair.
Yeah, no, 3 because he was
because my pregame stream. Yeah.
Yep. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I will say that let's call it for the night here because I have to wake up super fucking early.
To end on this, Kamala Harris tweeted out, Donald Trump has no plan for you. And Phil Labonte correctly corrected her and said, Donald Trump will leave you alone. And that, I think, is a great philosophy. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, that is the Calvin Coolidge, why he's my favorite fucking president, was leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, I don't want a politician to care about me. I really don't. Like, I just want them to leave me alone.
The moment the politician knows anything about me is they failed as a politician.
Yeah, just leave me alone.
Yeah, I want a politician to be a politician. I want a politician to be the dude who sits at home playing chess with his fucking cat, drinking whiskey, and leaving me the fuck alone.
I don't care what he does. Just leave me alone.
I don't give a shit if he fucks hookers. Like, that's the thing. Like, people have this, like, moral fucking authority that they assign to things. I don't care if the president was literally in the White House daily, having a sex party with 2 midgets, a fucking transvestite from Thailand, and fucking, I don't know, Greg from X. All of them combined into one massive fucking cum orgy. I don't care, provided that they are not fucking my life up.
And they're honest about it.
Yeah. And if they're straightforward about it, if they're like, yeah, by the way, I just did coke with fucking Melanie the midget over there. Cool.
Don't abuse your authority.
Melanie the midget.
Yeah, Melanie the midget.
If like, even if you pass no new laws, it's like, all right, that's better.
Yeah, no new laws is better than bad law.
Right.
Hi.
All right. It's time for bed. Everybody. Dalton, where can people find you?
They can find me on X at Dalton Sutton IO. Demi, where can they find you?
Holding this cat. His name's Peanut.
Fair
Discord.
Enough. Yeah, in Discord. Yeah, Tack.
Every time they just say in Discord, and I'm just like, what the fuck do you want me to say? I have an X. Yeah. I'm not telling you people.
Fair. You could find me on my YouTube, which is The Tactical Turtleneck, which you should all know by now. And if you don't, go there. You can also follow me on X, which is right here. So I think it is time to end. And with one final fucking note, I will say this. Legalize cocaine, midgets, because we need